Hello, this is Michel Leviathan Sorbet, and this is a new episode on the Wojennik TV YouTube channel. World War I is one of my favorite history topics. It is also one of my favorite subjects of war games. It is the reason why I enjoyed that much Fields of Despair or The Great War Commander. But when compared to World War II, there is a lot less war games covering this period. So I'm always very eagerly looking at new games which are covering World War I. The majority of those titles concentrates on the Western Front and on the trench warfare. Few war games concentrate on other theaters, for instance, such as the Italian theater during World War I. One of such games will be the game that I am presenting you right now during this unboxing, and this game is Durchbruch, the Austro-German attack at Caporetto. The game was published in 2019 by the Italian publisher Acies Edizioni. Its designer is Enrico Acerbi, an Italian who is also a historian who is very familiar with the topic of World War I. So we can expect a product created by someone who is really into this subject. Now, the offensive of 1917, which resulted in the Battle of Caporetto, was one of the most successful offensives during World War I on the Italian front. It was launched under the codename of Waffentreue, loyalty of arms, by a conjoint army of Austro-Hungarian troops and German troops. The German Chief of Staff, at first, was somewhat reserved to an offensive at such a large scale on the Italian front, but they decided to go for it, and the outcome was more than satisfying for the Central Powers. The front line was moved from the Isonzo River Valley up to the outskirts of Venice. More than 300,000 Italian casualties occurred during this battle, most of them prisoners of war. The offensive was almost a total disaster for the Italian army, and it almost resulted in knocking out Italy off the war. Fortunately, Italy managed to make a stand and they survived. The Western Allies had to reinforce the Italian front, sending not less than 12 divisions to help their ally. But the Italians fought very bravely and they managed to stop the Austro-German offensive. Very interesting situation, very interesting battle, and thanks to Durchbruch we will be able to recreate it. The game is designed to be played by 2 players, but it is also possible to play it solitaire, and the minimum age of the player is 12 years old. I do not have any information about the time of play, but browsing through the information about the different scenarios, it will depend on the scenario, and it can be from 2 to even 6 or 7 hours if we play the entire campaign. Now, during this unboxing, I would like to show you the components of this game, so I would like to open the box of Durchbruch. Let's begin. Here is the box of Durchbruch, ready to be opened. The box cover not very appealing, I must say. I'm not a fan of such graphics. We see a single soldier, we see also some mountains in the background, the title well depicted, as well as the logo of the publisher. But as I said, I believe this is not a very interesting box cover. On the second side, on the other hand, we have a nice description of the Battle of Caporetto, of the historical setting, with also a possibility of taking a glance at the counters which are inside the box, and also a small part of the map which is inside. We have also 2 information about the complexity of the game. It is rated at the third level in a 5-level scale, and it is, when it comes to the solitaire suitability, rated at 2 in a 5-level scale. So a game which will be quite complex, but not of the highest type. not of the highest complexity, and secondly it will be possible to play it solitaire, but it won't be as fun to play as it would when we play this game in the classic mode for 2 players. Now let's take a look at all the elements which are inside this box. Some plastic bags, 2 6-sided dice also included, and then I see we have the counter sheets. Here is the counter sheet 1, here is the counter sheet 2, so those are the 2 first counter sheets in Durchbruch. As you can see, the counters are pretty much standard when it comes to their size. They are double-sided with nice logos, with nice emblems. I especially like the pinned marker because on one side you have the soldiers looking from a trench, and on the second one the same soldiers but with gas masks, because World War II is also about gas attacks, and I believe in this game it will also be possible. The green counters are probably the Italian forces. For instance, here we have a headquarters of Gonzaga or of Bon Giovanni, so those will be the Italian forces with some NATO symbols used. As you can see, some engineers, some artillery, some infantry units. I see also a thing that I haven't seen up until now in any war game. It's a cow token. So this is the first time that I see a cow being depicted on a counter. Nice addition. The second, or rather the third and the fourth counter sheet, if we treat them separately, will represent the German and the Austro-Hungarian forces. So here we have some Central Powers headquarters, for instance, von Berrer or Scotti. Also some additional pinned counters, some OOC counters, additional ones depicting howitzers, as I believe, maybe additional headquarters. Now those counters, as I said, are pretty much of the same size as in most war games. They are laser cut, but I see that the spaces from the place where they were cut up to the counter side is quite long. So you will be needing a knife or maybe a rounder in order to clean up those counters after taking them from this sheet. Now we have the game maps. In Durchbruch we received 2 of them, which will represent the battlefield. The first one is the eastern map, as I believe, which represents some mountainous terrain and also some flat terrain or maybe some valleys between hills. This is a map with a hexagonal grid. Each hex has also its own number. We have some small towns, some cities, we have some mountain peaks, we have some rivers floating somewhere along the board. The second map, which will be associated to the first one, yes, one more thing, on this map you will get the turn recall track and the resource points available for both sides, as well as the victory points track. Now to this map we will associate the second one, which will be the western map. The western map, which will depict even higher mountains. As you can see, some very high mountains to the north and to the south, with some mountain peaks. A lot of things going on here. Some valleys through which the Isonzo flows, and here the fighting will be taking place. Now it will also be part of the game to choose the correct path of approach or to maneuver. It won't be easy because of the mountainous aspect of this map, so I'm very eager to try the game and to see how this lack of maneuver possibility will be simulated in the game. I see that on this map we have also one additional information. This is a track, or rather a pattern which will be showing maybe the artillery's impact and the possible scatter of the artillery rounds. We receive also some additional charts. The first two will be the charts which will describe how to set up the game, both from the Italian point of view and from the German Austro-Hungarian point of view. So we will have the name of the counter, the division to which such a counter is being associated, the type of the unit, and the hex where the unit should be placed, both when it comes to the Italian and the German player. We receive also additional charts. Here we have a morale check chart with, as you can see, different types of units. We'll get elite units, veterans, normal units, rookies. So morale will also be part of this battle. This table will show the combat table. As you can see, we will be using the rather classic combat table where the odds of the attacker and the defender will be compared. We will be finding the correct column, and then we'll be making a die or dice rolls when trying to check for the outcome of a battle. We will get some die roll modifiers, some column modifiers. All of them will be used in the game. Additional charts. Here is the terrain effects chart with different types of terrain. As I mentioned earlier, we will get some plains, some hills with different levels, roads, trails, streams, towns, etc. So a lot of things, with also the information how those different terrain types will influence bombardment or combat. And the last chart will be the barrage communications and stacking chart. We'll get a dedicated barrage table for barrage bombardment, some terrain defensive value for preparatory bombardment. As you can see, we'll get 4 terrain levels. The highest will be depicted in gray or white. And the last element is the rulebook. As you can see, we have the information that this is the 2nd edition of Durchbruch. This is a rulebook prepared in color with some nice pictures, with some examples, with some notes, designer notes. Here we have this cow token. I like the way that this rulebook is being prepared. It is a rulebook which at first glance seems to be very well organized. I like rulebooks with a nice layout, with passages which are not too long, with some points easy to find later during game play. As you can see, the different types of counters are being shown, and at the end we'll also find the scenarios, and we'll get several ones. We'll find the October 24th scenario, the October 25th scenario, the Caporetto's breakthrough, and also a possibility of playing a campaign. So different possibilities will emerge. You will be able to choose different scenarios. We get also the victory points table at the rulebook's back with the information what will be the victory points associated to different locations. And for instance, Caporetto will be worth 3 victory points on turn 3. Well, and that's pretty it. Those are all the elements which are inside the box of Durchbruch. Let's pass to a short conclusion. Durchbruch, the Austro-German attack at Caporetto, is the first game from Acies Edizioni, which I have the pleasure to show you on our channel. So I was interested to see how the components of this game will look like, because I didn't know what exactly to expect. And I must say that those elements are of a really high quality. I like the quality of the maps, which are very well laid, not very, I'd say pretty, but I believe very functional. Well, the Caporetto battle, the Caporetto offensive was all about passing through the mountainous chains and descending through the plains, and so the difference in elevation, which will be very important in the game. At first, the front line will be somewhere on the mountain peaks, then it will be pushed up to the plains. So the colors are reflecting this situation and used to represent the different types of elevation. I like the fact that we receive a lot of interesting counters. I like their artwork. I believe they are quite functional, although I believe it will be quite hard to push them from the counter sheets. Maybe you will have to use a knife, and probably you will have to round them with a rounding counter, with a clipper, if you do not want to have counters with some sticking parts from the corners. I like the rule book, which seems to be very well laid at first glance. It is a colored rule book with some examples, with some nicely represented parts. So at first look, I believe it will be quite agreeable to read, and I hope it is quite well written. I will tell you more about it during a future review. Now, the game, as I said at the beginning of this video, covers a very interesting battle, so I'm very eager to try it. I'm also very eager to verify how the mechanics of this game will work. I, during the unboxing, said that we have some very common mechanics, such as the combat resolution table or some modifiers, the hexagonal grid, etc. But it is always nice to look at games covering interesting battles and from less known publishing companies. Acies Edizioni is one of them, because I up until now had not the possibility to play any game. So I'm still very anxious to see how the game works. I will tell you more about it during a future review. This was the unboxing of Durchbruch, the Austro-German attack at Caporetto, published by the Italian publisher Acies Edizioni. Take a look at our other videos. We have more unboxings, we have also some reviews on our channel. Don't forget to verify also our Instagram account, where we publish new wargame pics from day to day. I wish you a fantastic day and see you next time.